Hey everyone, the world's #1 Sonic superfan here, ready to talk about a rumor of a Shadow spin-off of the movies, the Sonic movies? Well, Jake just left. Jake just bailed. Okay, Jake actually might be a bigger superfan than me. All right, let's pass it off to Jake. Jake, give us a rundown of what the heck this rumor is about. And I don't know where Joey right now.
I can't find my copy of Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah, okay. So Daniel RPK, who is very well known in the movie industry, if you've ever been on like a Reddit about like DC Comics movies, Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, you've seen the rumors. Most of them come from Daniel RPK. He's got like a long, big resume of this kind of thing. And he says that a spin-off is in the works, a Sonic movie spin-off, not a Sonic movie spin-off, but a Sonic movie spin-off.
I'm still confused hearing that.
It's still confusing, of Shadow the Hedgehog. So to clarify, it could be a television show or a movie, but Paramount is working on this. Could be similar to the Knuckles spin-off show that we're going to see on Paramount Plus, or Paramount Plus?
Yeah, Paramount Plus.
In this year, or it could be its own thing. It could be a direct-to-streaming movie. It could be a theatrical movie starring Shadow the Hedgehog, but something in which Shadow is headlining is being worked on at Paramount. That is the rumor. That's what we're here to discuss.
Yeah, I think it's a very feasible rumor. I think Paramount got the message, oh, hey, Sonic fans very much love Shadow the Hedgehog a lot. As the #1 super fan here, Andre, you should know you're the biggest diehard Shadow the Hedgehog fan. So,
obviously.
Yeah, so people are really into this character, very much so. He even had his own video game that the Edgelords in 2005 really loved. So yeah, I totally see this being a feasible rumor, especially from a trustworthy source as Daniel RPK. I just need to know more about this character, how he's going to be perceived in the movie, because I feel like we've been hearing about this for years now. The Sonic movie 2 is about to be 2 years old in April, and we've heard nothing about
Sonic 2.
Sonic the Hedgehog movie 2. Yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And man, I just need to know who's voicing him, all that stuff. I need to see him in action. So it's hard for me to get too excited about this rumor yet, because we don't even know when this Knuckles show's coming out.
Joey, I could not be further away from what you just said. It is very easy for me to get excited about this rumor.
Nice.
Let me break it down, everybody. Let me break it down.
Uh-oh.
Sonic Adventure 2 is the best Sonic game ever made. All right.
Correct.
And a large part of I mean this unironically.
I
truly
aware.
believe this.
So do I.
love Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, some of my most cherished childhood memories.
The GameCube one?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that multiplayer mode, oh my God, just like racing each other as those characters, absolutely loved it.
That was fun.
But I have, Shadow is my favorite Sonic character by far, easily. There is something about this character that I fully believe will be just as popular as he was when he debuted in Sonic Adventure 2. I think it's like a winning formula. It's like the evil version of that hero you like in a weird way. Is Shadow not the Venom of Spider-Man?
You're telling me we're gonna get 19 inches of Shadow?
That's maybe, but like there's something about this character archetype that I think like just works. And if somebody that was in like market research told me Sonic the Hedgehog is like a smash hit with kids that are 8 years old, and then they said, but Shadow really appeals to 12-year-olds, I would totally believe them. And you know what I mean? It's one of those things that just like makes sense. So I could see, especially how many years it's been since like the first and second Sonic movies, like now this character coming around, I think they're probably going to get a big push in a lot of games. We haven't really seen Shadow in a lot of the Sonic games recently, and I think they've been holding on to him so that he can have like a hard launch when this movie starts to like really gain a lot of steam. The third movie, of course, and then maybe the spinoff. But yeah, there's something about Shadow that's always appealed to me. I like his like self-serious like CW level of intensity and drama. There's something about like, no, you're the fake hedgehog. Like, and he really believes that he's like not what he is. It's like Shakespearean and tragic and like, but also like funny. And I've always drawn a line between Kingdom Hearts and Sonic of this era, where it's like you've got like Sora and Roxas. Like Shadow is the Roxas in that relationship. He's like the mirror image that's like dark in a way. I love this character so much. I can't wait to see how he appears in the third movie. But to know that like he could get a TV show that focuses on his like backstory or like what he does after the events of the third movie. I think there's so much to like this like internally what is going on with this character inherently in a way that's like not immediately there with Sonic. You kind of have to write it in for Sonic. You have to give him emotional ties, and I think the first Sonic movie really did that well. But like Shadow, just like being a clone is already like so many different like comics and movies go into like the mental and philosophical implications of that. So I feel like they've got some scenery to chew with Shadow. So yeah, I think they're really setting themselves up for something that could be really successful. And Shadow has a ton of memes, and there's a ton of like silly stuff that they could pull on that they loved, especially in the first Sonic movie, pulling on like the drawing of Sonic. You know what I mean? There's like stuff like that with Shadow, and no other character in Sonic lore, I think, has that level of like stuff associated with him in pop culture. So I think there's a lot here to work with, and I think they see the opportunity. And I think he's a bigger character than Knuckles. So if Knuckles got a spin-off thing, I totally see it for Shadow.
Why couldn't Shadow? Exactly. Yeah. And man, when are we going to see the Knuckles show? It's Wikipedia says early this year, so hopefully soon. But yeah, you said it best, man. Shadow was like my childhood right there. I loved that hedgehog more than Sonic, undoubtedly. I just met his voice actor last month at the SAC Gamers Expo, and he talked about recording that line, "Where's that damn fourth Chaos Emerald?" It was excellent. Absolutely excellent. But you know, you just gave me an idea when you said Shadow's like the CW of the Sonic.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm dying for Keanu Reeves to play this character. Not to get too much into casting choices yet, because I have a whole video about that. Now maybe I could see Jensen Ackles from Supernatural play Shadow, because he lives and breathes and sleeps CW angst, if that makes sense.
Well, you just remember in Sonic Adventure 2, Maria. You know, like that's like out of Riverdale. You know what I mean?
Yes,
that's
is.
that's like Jughead being like Betty. You know, it's like the same thing, man. But it's so awesome, and I really do think that there's something about Shadow that is iconic in ways that like even Sonic isn't. Like if you ask somebody, what does Sonic say before he takes off and starts running? What does he say? Like, I don't know.
Gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast, maybe. like you know what I mean? We're all kind of like maybe something like that. But like, what does Shadow say? We all know what Shadow says.
Where's that damn fourth Chaos Emerald?
No, Joe, he says chaos control. You know, that's his thing. Like, and I don't know, as a kid, I just thought that was so cool. Like, he had like imagery and stuff, and like using the like. Shadow was the first time I ever thought that the Chaos Emeralds were interesting, and that's something that's been in Sonic games like since the beginning. But now, like, you've got this character that like uses them in like a deeply personal way, like is tied to these objects and like leeches from them. And I always thought that was just like, there was something inherently salient about that. So yeah, I really like this character. Couldn't be more excited to see what they do with him.
So yeah, it's kind of funny hearing this. You know, I mean, if I were not the #1 Sonic super fan, I might think it funny that they, you know, Sonic was originally created almost as a counter to Mario, like an edgier, you know, you have an edgy protagonist, but now then they ramped up to 11 with Shadow. Which, of course, you know, we haven't explicitly mentioned this yet, but just for anyone who also may not be a #1 Sonic super fan, they teased Shadow at the end of the Sonic 2 movie, suggesting he's going to have a heavy presence in the third one, which I believe is due for release at the end of this year, December 20th, I believe.
Oh yeah.
So which, you know, is that not going to be the Shadow movie? Like, how do we picture a Shadow, you know, seemingly a Shadow dedicated spin-off fitting into a movie universe of which he's already going to be a factor, but we don't fully know to what degree. Like, what are we picturing here? What's this look like?
I know what this looks like. Prequel series. Like,
prequel.
Leading up to, basically, it's the story that happened 50 years ago, where Shadow was made in this space colony arc by Gerald Robotnik, Dr. Robotnik's grandfather, and then it ends with him, like, or like over the series or over the movie, whatever this may be, we see him like go through like the trials of becoming the ultimate life form. We see him build this relationship with Gerald's granddaughter, I think, Maria, and then the series ends, spoiler alert, with you know, him getting jettisoned to Earth and Maria dying because the government's a terrible organization. But yeah, that's basically how I see it happening. Andre, do you even know this backstory? Because you're probably looking at, oh no, I'm gone.
It's a dude, Shadow got him.
Yeah, as deserved for questioning my status as a #1 Sonic superfan. How dare you, Joey?
Yeah, okay, but Shadow superfan's different. That's a whole different league. I'm kidding.
Okay, that's true. You're right. Well, I'll be honest, a lot of this is news to me. I have no idea about this backstory.
I was just
How many years did you say? 15 or 50?
50.
How's that even make... I don't understand. He's a clone. Sonic's not even anywhere near 50. How's this even make sense?
I think it's a combination of things. I think, for one thing, he doesn't age, probably. Right. Or he's been in cryo sleep. I think that's like the most plausible one, is that he has been in cryo sleep for 50 years, basically.
You even see in the teaser, he like they've got him. They wake him up. Remember in the teaser for the Sonic movie 3?
That's right at the very end. But this is where I'm confused. Wait, he's a clone of Sonic, right?
Yeah.
Okay, not really. Okay, not exactly a clone of Sonic. I think it's
is Sonic the clone of Shadow?
It's very circumstantial that he happens to look like Sonic. That's the explanation there. I kid you not. That's the full explanation.
He's a biological experiment, and it's like, but so he's not the real hedgehog, you know? It's like Sonic is a real one, so he's like a clone. But yeah. But he's a clone in the way that like, we made a sheep in a lab is a clone.
Right. Got it.
Yeah. Okay. But
all right.
I like the idea of the prequel series, Joey, but to me, it's like, I think you can fold all of that in a story that still takes place after the third Sonic movie.
Right, with flashbacks.
Flashbacks, because to me, the Sonic movie 3 is a Shadow that is all about reacting. And he's like, maybe being controlled by these people, reacting to Sonic for the first time, and that creates conflict, obviously. And then I think however you end that movie, you have a series that's like, okay, now that Shadow is no longer reacting and gets to make decisions for himself, not being controlled or told to by anybody, like it's kind of implied that he's being controlled to by the organization Gun. What does Gun? Shadow.
Well played.
But
I got that reference.
Yeah, but like, what does he do now that he is on his own and he can like make decisions or whatever? But before we jumped on this call, I actually floated an idea I had to Andre about a series where, we know that the Knuckles show is about the relationship between Knuckles and Wade, the local police officer in Green Hill, right?
Yeah, right.
Thank you. And I'm thinking that like, any other spin-offs, probably this seems core to the franchise, at least in a way, where there is a human CGI creature relationship. Like that's kind of part of how they film and make these movies. So I was thinking the fiance, who is secretly a gun agent, that the sister of the main oh my god, I'm getting everybody knows what I'm talking about. There's a wedding in the second Sonic movie.
I know
that
exactly
guy who's the secret agent. I think Shadow works with that guy. I think that's our like human lead, and that's like the main relationship that we follow. So now Shadow's doing like all this stuff with Gun, and it's like, okay, maybe I don't trust them, but I trust you. And like now we have like a working relationship. I'm discovering things about my past and whatever, and my purpose. And that show is probably about like Shadow discovering like how to be a hero or why he wants to be one. Yeah,
that's really good. That's a really good pitch.
Yeah. So you're leaning toward the idea of it being a show, possibly, Jake?
Yeah, I just based on the Knuckles thing being a precedent, I think it would be so cool if it's such a big swing, but if they put out like a Shadow the Hedgehog movie and it was just a theatrical movie called Shadow the Hedgehog, I'd be so curious about that.
Yeah.
Because, man, that would be so bold. And it's not completely unheard of. And I know this is a ridiculous comparison to make, but the Venom movies exist.
Yes, they do.
And
true,
it's not, and they're
not
like...
No Spider-Man, to be clear.
And they're not like titled like the Spider-Man villain Venom. Spider-Man's not even in those movies. So I don't know. I think it's like possible, but with like all these streaming services and stuff, part of me also wonders if it's part of Paramount's plan to make Paramount Plus more attractive, to be like, hey, we've got this exclusive thing there, and it kind of starts to make it, so there's like a lot of different factors, but I personally think it would be really cool if I was like going to the movie theater to see Shadow the Hedgehog. Like, man, that's nuts. Yeah,
I can see a strong argument both ways. Like if you're trying to promote your digital streaming service, like having a Shadow series might be a great way of capturing, a younger, well, I mean, look at us. A more broader demographic, I suppose. Especially because they already have Halo, they have Knuckles. Although I do wonder, like, is that redundant then, having 2 Sonic series? But maybe, you know, that would keep people invested for longer, perhaps. But then you think about the potential of a movie, you know, especially with how video game movies are blowing up right now, or at least had the potential to with the Mario movie doing gangbusters, Sonic doing extremely well. You bring out a Shadow exclusive movie with, I mean, would it even need to include the rest of the cast? Would it be like, I mean, I guess, and here's another question, like, I have a couple thoughts on this. One, is it like, is this almost too premature? You know, shouldn't they see how Sonic 3 performs the Shadow or the Knuckles series first before committing to a direction? But also, I forget what my other angle was here. Oh, I guess, would a Shadow focused movie not be Sonic the Hedgehog 4? Like, I mean, I guess it would have to be a total different direction for it not to be, right? So
yeah, I mean, I think that's funny. I kind of think that is, I believe that there is market research out there that would suggest that they know that Shadow is a winner. I truly believe that. Some egghead knows that. Some
Eggman.
Knows that information for sure. Yeah, I don't know why. I kind of buy that brand. So I think that might be why this feels premature. But then I think the other thing is, like, I think that it would be, and maybe this is too much for like what is ultimately a kid's property, but man, I think it would be such an opportunity to do something really cool and creative if you have a Shadow the Hedgehog movie and Sonic the Hedgehog is in like the first 2 minutes of it.
And that's it.
And that is it.
And then he dies.
That is so, and I gotta tell you, Andre, you brought up the Super Mario Brothers movie. You brought up the boon that is video game movies right now, and that actually sold me more on this being a thing, because it's like, they might be trying in some ways to maybe beat the Nintendo studios to the punch, and see if they can expand outward. And we actually know that Sega specifically is interested in this, and they have other like stuff in production that are like Sega properties. So, I mean, maybe that first swing is a almost Sonic movie. Maybe that makes sense to me.
Yeah, no, it totally does. And I have to say too, you know, we're all in our own bubbles, of course. You know, we are largely exposed to opinions on Twitter, which is, you know, generally an older, more cynical audience. Right. I don't think I fully appreciated how broad Sonic's reach was until I saw my nieces, like my 10-year-old nieces, obsessed with Sonic and the gang. Like they don't even care about Mario. They are all about Sonic. I'm like, yeah, Sega tapped into something here, and now might be the time to keep striking while the iron's hot, and push out. I say push out. Just get out a Sonic or a Shadow movie, and it really could be huge. I think it could be massive.
Oh man, a Sonic theme park, please. That'd be awesome too. Yeah.
It lends itself perfectly to a roller coaster at the least. So
yeah.
I'm still betting on it being a series just because of the whole Knuckles thing, and maybe Sega wants to like keep Sonic being in the movies and make other characters centered into the TV shows.
Right,
and another part of me
true.
is just like a Shadow the Hedgehog movie just sounds too good to be true. Something I really want. So naturally, I just think what I really want is not going to happen. So that's just my own way of thinking about it. And yeah, and just because something's in the works doesn't mean it will come to fruition. So maybe they are still waiting to see how the Knuckles show turns out, how the Sonic movie 3 turns out before they fully commit to a Shadow show. But then again, I'm pretty sure they greenlit the Knuckles show before Sonic movie 2 came out. So there is definitely that market research of saying Shadow is just like the bee's knees with the Sonic fans. I remember when I saw that.
That's how you reach the younger audience. The bee's knees.
Yes, no malarkey, everybody. But yeah, I remember seeing that end credit scene at the theaters. I was in a theater with like mostly children there, and even they were still like, "Oh my gosh, it's Shadow! Look, it's Shadow! It's Shadow!" Yeah. And I'm over here like, "You kids don't never understand growing up with this character."
I almost think it's worth mentioning that I think up until like literally last year, if in just non-gaming media, I think Sonic has had way larger of a presence than Mario for their entire history of those IPs.
Definitely.
And yeah, and like, there are probably more Sonic fans who have never touched a Sonic game than there are Mario fans who have never touched a Mario game.
That makes sense.
I never thought of it that way. You are 100% right. Like 1,000% right even. Yeah, but I only think my nieces have really played Sonic games. Like, they care about the character more than anything. And yeah, and in that respect, like, Sega's light years ahead of Nintendo. They're just catching up now. Nintendo used to be better about this with like Mario comics and TV, cartoon shows, and they completely dropped the ball. Where Sega, doubled down on that. We've had, even during the worst era of Sonic games, like Sonic Boom, that cartoon did very well.
Yes.
And yeah, Sega's done. I think there was an article I was reading recently about, like Sega capitalizing on like, the social media aspect of Sonic and like lending in on memes and all that. And yeah, they've done a great job. Say what you will about the games, they've done a great job managing like the IP and having it be on people's minds and just constant engagement with their audience, and to a degree that, Nintendo could be doing even better than they have. And again, they're just now catching up at this time with the movies, at least.
Sonic's able to permeate pop culture in a way that Mario isn't, just because of how restrictive Nintendo can be.
Right.
Like, this might sound silly to people, but like Sonic is a Roblox character. And like that matters. Like, that's influence, that's reach. And so there's like a Netflix Sonic show that people love. Like, there's, it's that this character has like a lot of brand power. So it like would not surprise me if they were trying to like expand that, do something that is like, like we've seen like the Marvel universe kind of perfect and try to get out and expand this IP into more simultaneous projects. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. Honestly, this conversation is really making me reflect on Sega. I'm like, is Sega secretly like just killing it? I don't know, man. Like that, the degree to which Sonic is like out there with kids is really impressive. Yeah,
it is. It really is.
Yeah, it does feel like it feels like they're on the upswing right now. They've had. They had their dark era of Sonic games, and even and almost every game is divisive to a degree, regardless. But I think a lot of people can at least appreciate what they are doing in Sonic, on the game front and multimedia otherwise, where they're seemingly killing it. And I think based on all of this, any kind of shadow release, whether it's in the form of a movie or a TV show, probably going to be a big hit, especially based off what you two are telling me. So.
Yeah. I mean, us sickos can't, we're going to be outside the theater doing,
We'll be camping outside the theater. Yeah.
Can Shadow be a 4 quarters movie? Can it reach?
Oh my God, 4 quadrants for it? Yeah, hitting on all. Wow, dude. I'll see. I'm going to show a picture of Shadow the Hedgehog to my fiance and just be like, what does this evoke in you? And just see what she says,
Disgust.
Yeah, right.
All right. Any final thoughts, anyone, on the Shadow project, the Shadow spinoff?
Little small thing. I'm excited for this to come full circle because I've really missed having Shadow in the games, and I just hope that like not being able to play as Shadow in Sonic Superstars bugs me a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to especially if it maybe it's even an indication that we go back to something that kind of like looks like Sonic Adventure. Like that would be really cool too. So I think that the stuff that Shadow is associated with is Sonic game stuff that I really like. So if we go back to that in any way, I'd be so happy about that.
It makes me think that they're waiting for a big Shadow moment. I think, with Frontiers, they had the open world, they didn't need another hook. Superstars was a return to 2D form, and in both cases, they made Amy playable again. I think they're waiting for the Shadow moment, when they hit that button. It's like, okay, we got something good here. Let's get Shadow in. Let's show people what you can do again in the gaming space.
I am just very curious who's gonna play him. That's been like my when is this gonna happen moment for the past almost 2 years now. I need to know who's gonna voice this man, this hedgehog. He's not a man, he's a menace. And it's just like, it wasn't for Knuckles. It was announced through a Twitter drop from Idris Elba going knock knock, and then that Knuckles poster, and that blew all our minds. That was such a great reveal. But Keanu Reeves doesn't have a Twitter account. What are they gonna do, guys?
Does any part of you hope that it's somebody like me? Let me explain. I think when we think of Shadow, we all think of like, I'm doing this thing, yeah.
Right.
And I'm thinking about Ben Schwartz and how he's Sonic, and I'm like, me and Ben Schwartz are not that far apart. And it's like, man, I wonder if it's like somebody that's a little bit more like I don't know, like a weird Ben Schwartz type. You know what I mean?
Nathan Fielder.
What if they lean into that? What if they lean into him being like knowingly comedic in a sense? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh my God, I've got taking this to the next level, Jake.
Yes,
we could go full
yes.
meta on this.
Okay.
You bring back the original, you bring back Steve Urkel. Steve Urkel, the original voice actor of Sonic in the cartoons, he himself in his own show Family Matters had his alter ego was Stefan. You can make his alter ego the voice of Shadow, right? You on board with this?
I'm on board with this. 100%.
I'm so glad none of you are casting this movie.
Dude, if I was casting this movie, I'd just be like, it's me, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Dude.
Fair. I mean, if you were talking about people who know like they're being funny or whatever, I don't know, Dave Bautista maybe. He's got like both the dramatic and the comedic chops. That's kind of, I think, Drax the Destroyer, where he's playing it so serious, but he's such a dummy sometimes. That's something I could potentially see.
That type, I think, is interesting because then you could argue for somebody like a Jason Momoa, who like could also be, you know what I mean? So it really depends on like what the character they're going for is, because there's like there's all these different like types that I think for a movie, depending on how you want Shadow to play, you could commit to. But yeah, so I wonder if they're gonna go for that kind of doing this thing, or they go in a different direction.
Yeah, I will say as the number one Sonic super fan, of course. Do they want to go to that well of kind of like a dumb antagonist again, like they already have with Knuckles? You know,
probably
not.
Want
to, they probably want to separate him a little bit more from.
I
forget exactly how
Knuckles,
they played it.
I forgot Knuckles was I wouldn't say he was like super dummy.
They tuned it back in the movie.
Yeah. He was definitely like confused as to where he was because he was in a new world.
Right.
He didn't know how things worked. That sort of deal.
I could see it being somebody like Adam Driver. Range.
That would be interesting.
That thought might have crossed my mind at some point. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was because he doesn't have like a supernaturally like a gruff low voice, but like he's got a tone. You know? Yeah. So I don't know.
You can definitely emote. So that could be that probably bring in a wider audience too. So. In any case, as a fan of the Sonic movies, obviously being the number one Sonic super fan, I'm excited to see what this ends up being. This will give me my proper Shadow exposure, and maybe I can go back and appreciate that gun-toting GameCube game all the more now.
Oh my God, guys! Breaking news!
Wii game, whatever it was.
Breaking news! They've announced it's Chris Pratt.
Stop it.
You know what? For a brief moment, I'm like, that makes complete sense. Of course it'd be Chris Pratt. I believed in Jake. I believed in this. All right. I think we'll wrap it up here, everyone. Thank you for watching our discussion on the potential of a Shadow spinoff. Let us know what you think in the comments below of both our ideas and what do you think it's even going to be. TV show, movie, what do you want? Let us know in the comments. And with that, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later. Bye, everyone.
I'm scared.